You are listening to the Knightline Sports Network, brought to you by Travis Dever and the Dever team, 386-690-1636.
Knightline is brought to you by the Dever team, your source for New Smyrna Beach real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Go to www.thedeverteam.com and call UCF alumni Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach needs. 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636.
Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios, and this is Knightline 253 from the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. Joining me as always,
Roger Phipps, and on this week's show, spring football is back. We make some mid-spring observations. Recruiting QBs continues. Volleyball, softball assert themselves and their dominance. The women's hoops tourney trip was undercut. The Tijuana Flats hot take of the week, news and notes, and your questions on Ask Knightline.
Alrighty, well, it is the second or third week now of spring practice. I've lost track, to be honest with you. I know there are 8 practices in. This last Saturday was their 8th practice. So
a little over halfway.
Getting some stuff done. Yeah, I think they have 14 or 15 or something like that, so 8. Yeah, so I still, and we're going to do Ask Knightline here in just a second, but I'll just tell you, I haven't been out to those practices. They're too early in the morning for me on Saturday, actually, believe it or not. I don't even get up that early. It's at like 10 o'clock. I'd have to get up at like 9, get ready, and go out there. It's just too early.
Well, some UCF fans are out there, and they're already tailgating before that and ready to go.
Well, that'd be great. I mean, whatever. So, yeah, I haven't gone. I'd love to. I usually have a lot to do on the weekends. I work all week, and then the weekend is my time to get stuff done.
Yep.
Working on the car, working on the freaking house, whatever. Until it's football season, I don't have those times blocked off, so I don't know.
Well, thank God Brent Key is no longer our head coach, because, you would have had to been there at 4 a.m.
Yeah, he was never our head coach.
Head coach in waiting.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. All right, well, let's do Ask Knightline and get this over with. This will start the conversation. Not to get it over with, but it will start the conversation. Ask a Knightline is brought to you by Chad Barr Law. Chad is a UCF alumnus and diehard Knights fan. Chad Barr Law handles auto accident, slip and fall, and personal injury cases. Call Chad today at 407-599-9036 for a free consultation. That's 407-599-9036. Armor up and call Chad Barr Law today. All right, got some good questions this week from our normal people. Tony C. asked a couple questions. Brian Peterson asked a question. Me and Angus asked a question, which is still my favorite Twitter name out there, period. Me and Angus, I love it. And he knows that. I've said it on here a million times. All right, let's start with Tony C. What do you think about high school coaches and local recruiting prospects showing up to Saturday practices? I think it's great. It's one of the ways to be seen. It's one of the ways to be introduced. It's one of the ways, to just, I already said it, I guess, be seen. I think that you, as a high school coach, you should do everything for your players to get them seen. And as a player, you should do everything for yourself to get you seen, if that's bad.
That makes sense. We know what you're saying.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have no problem with it, and I think that it should happen more, especially there are some guys that aren't getting seen that probably should. We've had a long conversation about, Brandon Moore's little brother, not really being seen by UCF. I don't know if he's not being seen or they're not interested or whatever. But, people say on Twitter and everything else. I saw something the other day that I think it was Tony C posted. Why is this guy getting offers from like Louisiana Monroe or whatever it was? I don't know where it was, but he got an offer from somebody and he's yet to be offered by UCF. So I do find it a little peculiar. That's the word I was looking for.
We're working hard this week, guys.
I'm tired. It's been a long week. I think it's great.
Yeah.
In other words.
Listen.
And I think that when practices were open before with like George O'Leary and stuff like that, these guys were probably at practices anyway, especially some of the coaches, and would probably bring a kid or two. And I think that was, I don't know if it is anymore, but kind of a normal thing for high school coaches to bring their kids and watch UCF practice.
It is.
So, yeah.
I can tell you in years past when we weren't dealing with COVID, we constantly had kids over there watching practice. They do the same thing for basketball. You'll see them in the stands. With respect to what Coach Malzahn's doing, I mean, not only what you said, but also remember, folks, the NCAA has had a moratorium on all official visits and visits to the campus. So folks cannot speak to the coaches. They can't do all that stuff. They couldn't get the stadium tours and the facilities tours and all those other things that really showed why UCF, in the American is as good or has better facilities than a lot of P5 schools. And on top of that, just that stadium experience. So this was a smart way for the coaching staff and Gus to get around that moratorium on that, because that's not going to open back up until June, hopefully, with everything that's going on with the coronavirus and that response. So I think it's a smart move. I think it's a great move. I think it's a great way to show the energy. And then, of course, for the players, it's a good way to connect with fans again. I mean, they haven't really seen us very much, and they're used to doing the fan days at the spring game where they're signing stuff and doing all these other things. And, it gives the opportunity for the fans to have some connection back with the players and the program again. So I 100% think it's good all the way around from a recruiting perspective. It's a great way to get around that NCAA rule.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if it was specifically to get around it or not.
Not to get around it, but at least get kids on campus so they can see the facilities instead of just walking around seeing brick buildings everywhere.
And they've got official visits, starting to be planned now. I've seen a couple guys on Twitter that have official visits scheduled with UCF, so that's good to see that happening. Right now, the Gus Malzahn offer tally is up to 181.
Wow.
181 kids he's offered. So I hope all of them don't decide they want to come to UCF just because.
Well, I hope they all do when we get to choose.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That would be, we've only got 25 spots or something?
Per year, and yeah, that means I'm sure some of those that you've included are 2022 and whatever, but still
181. There's a 2023 offer as well. So.
Yeah.
At least one. So he's doing a great job, and I think this is the way to do it. We talked about this a little bit last week, or maybe it was on Knightline at Night. I can't remember, or a couple weeks ago. We haven't done this show for a week or two. But we've discussed this before, so I think it was an Ask Knightline question, are they casting too large of a net or something like that? No, I think you cast a large net and you catch more fish.
Yeah.
So that's the way that it works, and I love it.
Well, the other thing, too, and I think to your point, this is how the big boy schools do it. And one of the things that you see Gus doing a lot of that we haven't done in the past is we haven't gone into a school and said, hey, we want your 4-star, we want your 5-star recruit. We're serious about it. You heard our defensive coordinator talking about that in one of his interviews. So at the end of the day, I think casting a wider net, but also more specifically offering those 4 and 5 stars, where before we wouldn't do that. We just wouldn't. Our bar was quote unquote lower. And what Gus is saying is, listen, I'm in your school to get that kid, not to take your 2-star or 3-star. So I'm going to go ahead and offer him. And if he chooses to come here, great. I'm going to get as many of those as I can. Those that don't, great. We've got plenty of 3-stars that are out there that we're offering too. So I 100% agree with you, Andrew. I think the wider net that we can possibly get, the better, and that's what the big schools do.
Yeah. All right. Well, next question is, what standout players have you heard a buzz about during spring practice? Really, we haven't heard much of that. Gus has been pretty quiet as far as that goes. I don't know about some of the other coaches if they've said stuff. He did talk a little bit about the offensive and defensive line. I'll play that clip real quick so you can hear this.
I think they're doing some good things. You can tell they're a veteran, I'll tell you that. Coach Hand, we're asking him to do a little bit different footwork, and so it's kind of they're working to get that done, and I think we're improving. So, and then our defensive line's done a good job too, especially today. I mean, we had some guys really flash and really impressed me out there today. Okay,
so that's a small tidbit of what's been said about position groups at least. What have you heard? Have you heard anything? I mean,
well, I've read some things.
There's just not a lot.
There's not a lot of official stuff out there. There's been some player interviews where various people have been mentioned in those player interviews. And then there's, obviously some of the fans. I have been reading some of the stuff and their assessments of people and who stood out to them when they were in the stands for the open practices.
Well, what are some of those? Because I'm behind a little bit. I haven't got to see all the audio and video that UCF is putting out. I've just been busy. Yeah. So if you know something, you can go ahead and talk about it.
Okay, so some names that have been bandied about. One, it seems that Tremont Morris-Brash has taken a step forward. He's got a good first step. He's getting good pressure on the defense. Now, again, as you heard Gus just say, that the offensive line is learning a whole new way of doing things. They're changing their footwork up to go with the schemes that they're going for now, because they're completely changing the schemes that Josh Heupel was running. R.J. Harvey is another name. He has been running with the ones and the twos. He's kind of been splitting time with Bino Thompson. Now, of course, we don't have our transfers that have come in yet, so that'll mess up that mix or shake up that mix a little bit, but he's getting a lot of play, which is good. Cam Good, he's also had some bright spots, but he's been a little inconsistent. Devod Wilson has been showing out, and that's the name that I've been kind of talking about, and I think we talked about it before, about seeing him take a step forward. Go ahead, Andrew.
Well, here's a clip real quick on Gus Malzahn talking about Devod Wilson as well.
He's one of those guys that you can feel his presence, I'll tell you that. I mean, he's a confident guy and flies around, and he did some good stuff today.
Well, there you go.
So. Yeah, and the big thing that I keep hearing is that he's very energetic and he's talking on the field a lot, right? So he's getting he's showing that leadership role. Where Richie Grant was more of a quiet leader, this guy's very vocal. He's also been letting his play talk for himself or speak for himself. He got a pick in the scrimmage this weekend, and kind of the way it was described was Richie Grant-esque because he came out of nowhere, grabbed the pick. So he's been playing a lot of safety and has been doing really well there. Brandon Johnson, the transfer wide receiver, there's been, from the various receivers that have spoken, there's been a lot of buzz about him.
They all speak highly on him. I did hear, I was listening to Jay Flash, Jalen Robinson.
Yep. I knew who you were talking about.
I just told you the other night on Knightline at night not to use nicknames, and I just did it myself. So just for people who don't know all the nicknames. Yeah, well, whatever. Just because I couldn't remember his real name. Oh, boy. Anyway, so yeah, he was speaking very highly of him recently, of the transfer that came from
Tennessee,
and Tennessee. So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, he's got a lot of comments about his route running. Just looks like very polished and knows what he's doing, which is a good thing. We talk about that a little bit later on as to why. Corey Thornton has been consistently good as well. He was able to speak in the interview. He's just a sophomore, so he's been showing out well. I'm going to save the quarterback because we do have another Ask Knightline, so I'll talk about that then. And then from the linebacking core, Tatum Bethune.
I've expected big things from him from the beginning. He caught my eye. Just it was the first game I think of, I guess 2 seasons ago now. Because is he a junior already?
He is.
Well, technically a sophomore now because they're getting their their
extra year.
back.
Yeah.
But that's amazing. I remember seeing the very first time that he played, and I was just like, man, this guy, like, seriously caught my eye. And I was just like, I knew that he was going to be awesome. And he's come into it more and more year after year now. I think this year could really be a big, big year for him.
Yeah, he's been
it needs to be.
He's been laying the wood is what's been heard around practice, and basically, everybody's buzzing about those hard hits, and we need that on the run stop because the run stop was an area of weakness for us. They've also been doing him and Jeremiah Jean Baptiste have also been doing a good job in coverage. So. Eric Gilliard, for whatever reason, he's not practicing. He was on the sideline in a jersey, but street clothes, so I'm guessing there's an injury there. He'll be back in the mix, but for now, it looks like Tatum Bethune and JJP are doing a great job.
There you go with your damn nicknames.
Well,
again.
I said his name the first time.
JJP.
JJP, All right. Sorry.
Oh, boy.
Jeremiah Jean Baptiste. Oh, my gosh. I thought once I said his name first, we were good. But anyway.
I think it's funny.
Both of them seem to be doing much better in coverage, which is something we needed as well, because last year that was a sore spot for us coming into the season. And you really haven't heard anything beyond that in the depth for the linebacking core. I'm waiting to hear Mosier. I'm waiting to hear his name because I have a lot of high hopes for him and Joyce. Those two are the folks that came in last year, had a lot of buzz about them. I love their tape, so I'm hoping they step up this year as well.
Absolutely. All right, on to the next question. Thank you, Tony C. at Kilotone407. Brian W. Peterson at, if you could schedule, I love this question. He always has some good questions. If you could schedule a home and home with any SEC team not named Florida or Alabama, who would you choose and why?
Ooh.
I'm going to say Georgia.
Okay.
We've played Georgia. We've beat Georgia before. They're kind of in the SEC, besides Florida, they're the closest one, I believe. Maybe, I think Alabama's a little farther than Georgia. I don't know.
It is a little farther from Orlando. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be close to being the same. But I just think Georgia, because, they have the rivalry with Florida. Well, why couldn't they have a rivalry with UCF as well?
Because they keep getting beat. No, just kidding.
Well, whatever. But I just think that it would be good to have, another Florida-Georgia rival. If we could have a Georgia school that we could have a rivalry with, why not have one?
It'd be great for recruiting, too, because Gus has really put a focus on Georgia as well.
Any states that touch, you know what I'm saying? It always is just a natural rivalry.
Yeah.
If you're going out of state.
No, I agree with that, and Georgia's well thought of. It's one of the higher-level programs in the SEC, one of the consistent winners as well, so that's always good from a reputation standpoint. For me, Auburn, just because the story between Gus Malzahn.
That's natural.
Yeah, I'd love to see us.
I didn't say that because I thought it was too easy.
Yeah, well, Well, I mean, what's left? You've got Kentucky, you've got Vanderbilt that nobody cares about. It'd be great for me because I could go to the games, but their stadium sucks. South Carolina.
South Carolina was probably my second one. I had thought about South Carolina being the first one. We've played a 1-1 with them. We've lost both of them.
Yeah, we should have won that one at home.
We should have. Very close game, and that was an incredible game. So that could have easily been the pick as well. So, and they're fairly close, not too far away.
Yeah, all you have left really is Arkansas. I mean, there's some Gus Malzahn history there with Arkansas as well.
And Terry Mahajer.
And Terry. So,
and quite a few other people, too. So.
That would be a lot easier to get, for sure. Georgia would be a tough get.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I mean, hopefully Terry Mahajer can get some of this stuff going. And with Gus Malzahn, Gus knows all those people, too.
Well, we've got 12 games to fill here over the next few years. So
well, we'll see, I guess. They say they want to play the top 10 teams and beat them, so let's get them on the schedule.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the easiest way to do it. You're not going to get it done if you don't get them on the schedule. So, hopefully somebody's really, really working to get this stuff done.
I like Georgia, and I think South Carolina is a good backup. I really like Auburn, though. I think that if you're talking about closer drives, Auburn is actually closer than both Alabama and Georgia to us.
Really?
Yeah. I actually got to stop by their campus on my college tour that I did a couple of years ago and checked out their facilities and whatnot. And, if you go north to the Panhandle, it's not too far up into Alabama, so it's definitely closer than both.
Okay.
But Georgia would definitely be my number one pick, so I agree with you there.
All righty. All right, thank you, Brian W. Peterson. Now to me and Angus. Outside of DG, which quarterback stood out during the scrimmage on Saturday? I didn't see any of it. I didn't really hear anything about it. Go ahead, Roger, because you seem to have something there.
Quadri Jones. Hey, everybody talks about Quadri in the offseason, but
he should.
But
I mean, he should be the guy. He should be a senior, probably
and the backup.
Yeah, I mean, he should be the guy that stands out.
Yeah, and he's what he's shown from what I've heard, he's doing really well with this type of scheme because it's more mobile quarterback focused, and he made some throws across the field on the move that were pretty impressive. And he's got good timing down with the receivers. He's doing really good, and he's really mobile, and he's pretty quick when he gets moving. With Josh Heupel, it was more of a drop back kind of scheme. They didn't want the quarterback moving around as much, but this is more up Quadri's alley, and it seems like he's taking advantage of it. And again, he's a senior now, so he should know what he's doing at this point.
Yeah, the senior twice removed.
Yeah.
Because he transferred and then transferred back. Like I said, it should be him. I think that he could prosper in this, scheme a little bit better. It is built for him a little bit better. It's built for DG a little bit better as well. And I will hope that we're in games a little bit more than we have been in some of the past, where we can actually put the backup quarterback in there and get them some meaningful time to play, even though it messes up stats for our starting quarterback. And I'm kind of indifferent about that because I like to pad the stats. Looks good on paper. But it would be nice to be way ahead in some of these games and be able to throw the backup in there and let them get meaningful time.
I mean, you've got Parker Navarro in those, and
I saw one clip on Twitter that somebody had posted. It was a video clip, and Parker Navarro was throwing and threw a freaking dime. It was beautiful.
Well, and this is more his scheme, right? When Josh was looking, he was looking at dual threat quarterbacks, and both of them out of Arizona are more comfortable in that type of scheme. So this really, and I agree with you. We're getting to the point with Dylan. I know it feels like he just started taking over for Mackenzie Milton, but really he's probably got one more year, maybe two at most. So we've got to start developing whoever's next man up. Now, and obviously Quadri is not going to be here, past probably this season. So that means it's got to be Parker.
He should have this season and one more now.
Depends on if you. Yeah, you're right.
Technically,
but we've got.
Unless he transfers and goes and plays someplace else, I don't really see him as an NFL guy as a quarterback because he doesn't have enough tape. So I wouldn't see why he would go early if he had the chance. So,
unless,
you know what I'm saying?
Unless he didn't feel like he had a chance to start.
Yeah, well, I don't think he does, but I mean, maybe. I don't know. Hopefully we don't have to use backup quarterback this year, obviously, for obvious reasons. But if we do, I want that person to be ready.
Yeah.
So luckily, knock on wood, we haven't had to do that in the last year or so. So a couple of years, I guess. So hopefully we don't. But
I know this question wasn't
need to get those guys ready.
I know this question wasn't around Dylan, but I have heard that he's doing a pretty good job of tucking and running on these design plays.
Good.
So less hesitation of him tucking the ball and actually running, which is good. He's not as agile or as good a runner as some of the other quarterbacks, but The big thing that when you watched him last year and the year before, it was like he was almost hesitant when he was on his decision making on whether he's going to tuck and run. So he's been a lot more authoritative around that.
I don't think Heupel wanted him to run.
I don't either.
I mean, there were some designed runs, but not very many. So I don't know. I mean, I can completely understand him being around McKenzie all the time and seeing what happened to him and all that stuff. I can understand psychologically. Psychologically is a big part of football.
Absolutely.
Especially being a freaking quarterback. But anything. There's an adrenaline dump that you go through. There's all kinds of stuff. And you can... Quarterbacks especially, they always say quarterbacks should have a short memory, and I sometimes don't think that Dylan does very well with having a short memory. Throws an interception or something and doesn't come out the next series and play very well sometimes. So, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully, he'll feel more confident. I just don't feel that he feels confident when he runs. So hopefully that will change. All right, me and Angus had another one. Are we expecting more transfers before the summer? If so, who and what positions? You probably know more about that than I do as well.
Okay, so I guess we'll go at this a couple of different ways because I'm not quite sure how in what context you were asking the question. We do have more transfers coming in for sure. For the summer, in the summer, a little bit later on, we have a couple running backs actually coming in.
Well, all of our real transfers are coming in the summer.
Correct.
Like summer A.
So as far as are we going out to recruit more transfers? Yes, there's actually a couple DBs that were out there that were 4-star DBs that came available late that we're going after. I don't have their information because I didn't look at your question, me and Angus, beforehand. But we do have a 4-star defensive back that we're in the mix for right now. We're in his top whatever. I think it was like 6 or 8 as well. So from what I've heard, we're down to the top 2 or 3, and if we can land him, that would be good as well. Other than that, I haven't heard of any other additional transfers that we're chasing. I think we're good on running backs, quarterbacks. We just got a commitment from a new quarterback, so I think we're good there. Defensive backs, we can always use more help. We've got a pretty good starting group back there, but its depth is always important, especially when you have young guys.
By the way, I hate saying that I don't know any of this stuff because I want to know this stuff, but I've been busy. I've just been super, super busy. So it pains me to say that I don't know, just so y'all know. All right, well, that does it for Ask Knightline. Let's do a commercial, and we'll come back and get into the rest of the show.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
An auto accident can change your life forever. At Chad Barr Law, we are raising the bar on what to expect from your personal injury attorney. Hi, I'm Chad Barr, and I want you to know that our entire team is dedicated to providing you with the representation you deserve in your greatest time of need. If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto accident, call 407-599-9036 for a free consultation or visit chadbarlaw.com. At Chad Barr Law, our clients come to us in need and leave as family. Offices, Altamont Springs.
Looking for more out of your Porsche? Look no further than Flat6Motorsports.com. They have the widest selection of aftermarket Porsche parts anywhere in the world. With over 85 product lines and in-depth expertise, Flat6Motorsports.com is your one-stop shop for any Porsche performance needs. Whether you're shopping for intakes, exhausts, suspension, or tuning, they have you covered. Flat6Motorsports.com is the premier Porsche aftermarket specialist. Check them out at Flat6Motorsports.com. All right, Roger, you found some information that you were looking for?
Yeah, that commercial was so fast I was able to channel that and actually find it. The kid that I know, bad joke. Sorry, guys. The kid that I was talking about was Tyke Smith, number 23. He's the number 1 defensive back for West Virginia. He's transferring. He's a 2019 4-star defensive back. He had 10.5 tackles for a loss, 111 tackles, 4 interceptions, and 5 passes defended in 2 seasons at West Virginia. At the time, he was number 7 at the state, number 27 in the at his position. He rated a 5.8 for rivals, 5'11", 195 pounds at the time when he was being recruited. I don't know what size he is now, but if you look at those stats, that's really, really, really good stats for a defensive back, and we are in the mix for him.
Okay, cool. Well, what's next?
Next, we're not really moving too far away from what we've been talking about, which is spring practice. So wanted to do a little bit of an update on what I've heard so far. One, we kind of mentioned earlier, the O-line is learning new footwork. So, guys, we're going to have a little bit of patience as they learn these new schemes. For an offensive lineman, it means that they have to get and understand where they've got to be, who they're blocking.
It all starts with them.
Yeah.
I mean, the entire scheme starts at the offensive line.
And they may be blocking, depending on their position, they may be blocking 2 or 1, or they may be stepping back further depending on the play. How many steps they take back, how wide their stance is. All those little things that you talk about when they're talking about technique. Whenever you hear the word technique, that's what they're talking about for offensive linemen. Where their pad level is, where they're putting their hands underneath the pad and that changes scheme to scheme. So I just want to make sure that you guys understand. One, as you heard Gus say, it's an experienced veteran line, which is good for us, right? Because these are not folks that are just learning from scratch, so they should be able to pick this up a lot faster. But secondly, they are learning an entirely new scheme with different technique, etc. So there's going to be a learning curve, and I think we've kind of watched that happen and we'll probably see some more of that in the spring game. So just wanted to put that out there. We already talked about Brandon Johnson. He's doing really, really well in his position. We are using the middle of the field a lot more, so the tight ends getting out in the middle of the field. Using Ryan O'Keefe and Flash, as you mentioned earlier, in the middle of the field as well. So, there's definitely... One of the good things is we're using multiple tight end sets in a different way than what we've done in the past. So it's going to keep defenses guessing a little bit more with more of a wrinkle, because in the past we've only used really, the outside of the boundaries on the field, and that means you can run your defenses and only defend a certain portion of it. So with us being able to either block with those tight ends or drop them into the flats and having a running back threat, we're seeing a lot more folks catching passes, and that's where R.J. Harvey has really shined, is catching passes from the quarterback at the running back position. That's really going to make the defense have to play a little bit differently on, they can't go all in on run games or running plays, and yeah, we're all over the place tonight. The Mountain Dew hasn't kicked in yet, but on running plays and the tight ends, and that just means that they're going to have to defend more, and it should open up more plays for us. We talked a little bit about the linebackers already. Secondary play, Jaden Francois is out there. Apparently, I've heard that there may still be a little back and forth with Nebraska on him.
This is so stupid.
But he is out there practicing, and he is practicing with the ones. Corey Thornton, Devontae Dawson.
Talk about a coach holding somebody up and not doing what's best for the player. Scott Frost is being a total freaking jerk. I almost said something different.
Trying to get out of that other game with Oklahoma, as an example, getting out of the Texas game. Mark Daniels, I know we don't like to talk too much about him, but he kind of let some laundry air on us getting out of the return Texas game from our opening of the stadium, and how Scott Frost really pushed for that to happen. So he was doing a lot more behind the scenes than I think people were aware of at the time, and it's definitely shown here.
Man, an absolute freaking snake. And he's showing, especially with this thing with Francois. I mean, it's been very difficult. All year last year, he was not eligible to play because they wouldn't release him from his letter of intent, and it's ridiculous. So hopefully the NCAA steps up and makes this right somehow for this kid, because Scott Frost is really, really holding him back. And you don't, as a coach, I think it would be in the coach's rules or the coach's creed not to hold a player back, and Scott Frost is doing exactly that for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's just to get back, maybe to I don't know, a lower kick to UCF, to try to kick him where it counts.
That's because they moved Josh Heupel in his office before he wanted them to.
Yeah, well, it wasn't his anymore, so whatever.
All right.
Not Josh Heupel's anymore either.
Nope, we've moved on.
Hopefully Gus came in and had somebody with some sage and all kinds of stuff get the bad juju out of the place, because, man, just some bad stuff going on in a couple spots there.
Devontae Dawson and Derek Gaines are getting a lot of time with the ones as well. Remember, we were expecting a lot of Devontae Dawson, talking about him last year. And then Derek Gaines, he was one of those guys that I believe he was a freshman last year that really got up to speed fairly quickly. So I'm excited about seeing him. And the running back position, we kind of talked about Bino and R.J. Harvey. The big thing that I'm looking for is when Mark Anthony Richards and our Northwestern transfer Isaiah Bowser get here. Remember, Mark Anthony Richards was a big recruit for Auburn that Gus got to come over here, 4-star recruit, so he should be here this summer. So that might shake up the order a little bit. Just in practice in general, we've got an open scrimmage next weekend as well, and then we have the spring game on April 10th. Defensive line seem to be ahead of the O-line for now, and again, I kind of expect that. They were getting good pressure with the changes in the scheme, the footwork and all that. Tremont Morris-Brash showing out. Kalia Davis. Now, here's the big thing with Kalia Davis. Couple of the guys have mentioned this in their interviews as well, the other players, that he's just now getting back into shape, but he's starting to make some noise. But you remember he sat out last year, so he's got to get back in football shape. Big Cat is going to be the other guy that's going to shake up the defensive line, but if Tremont Morris-Brash is as good as everyone says he is, and Big Cat on the other side of the defensive line, anchoring that defensive line, that's going to be a mean defensive line to play against. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to see Big Cat Bryant play in our scheme for UCF. I can't wait to see him in a UCF uniform. I don't think people realize how big of a coup that is to get a player of this quality. He's probably one of the highest. A player with the most accolades that we've had, especially coming in as a transfer. I mean, Brandon Wimbush obviously was pretty well known and did pretty well, but also
got beat out by Ian Book. Got
beat out and didn't start for a reason and only played really in one game for us as a starter, half of a game, for a reason. And then, but this guy, second team All SEC, all kinds of stuff. Really a big deal. The Auburn fans that I know were all texting me when that thing went through and just being like, oh my God, I don't think you guys realize what you just got. So I just can't wait. I can't wait.
Well, and the good news, too, next week we're going to be seeing a little bit different. Gus had said that in the open practice, it will be an open scrimmage again, but they're going to be focusing on parts of the scheme this time. So he said he's going to be running a lot of 2-minute offense. So it's going to look a little bit different than it did this past weekend. And then we've got the spring game coming up.
Let me play a clip real quick of what Gus said about the practice yesterday, the open practice.
Had a good scrimmage today. It was our first scrimmage. I think overall we went 97 plays. Our quarterbacks were live, all but Dylan, which I think is always good for us to evaluate these guys. It's good for our defense. We let everybody play. We started out the practice with 4 live field goal blocks, which was very good. And then in the course of the scrimmage, we had 3 punt returns. We were thud on the ball carrier, but everything else was live. I thought it gave us some great information. During the scrimmage, we kicked field goals and kicked extra points. But overall, there's a whole lot to work on. We got a ways to go, but the good thing is I think our attitude is good. I think our guys want to get better. They want to be coached. But it gave us great information from a coach's standpoint of kind of where we're at. It's been a pretty solid first 2 weeks besides the scrimmage, but there's nothing like a scrimmage. That's when you as a coach I mean, you're able to evaluate everything. Everything's clear, and so it was good. I did feel like overall our body language was good for the first time. We had officials out there. We put the ball down, just played old school football, and we paced some, and it was good for the offense and defense to feel that.
All right, there you go. That was his opening statement before he took questions yesterday after the open practice.
Yeah, and with him, here's the thing, folks. Gus is also learning the players as we move along, right? And he said that multiple times. It's not just about them learning the new scheme, but he's learning the players. And these scrimmage opportunities and these practice opportunities, they really haven't had any. And he said he hasn't looked at tape, which I believe because he's been recruiting like his hair's on fire. So that's the big thing, too.
Yeah, one part of that is that, him learning the players is he may see something that maybe the other coaches didn't see with a certain player. You know what I'm saying? Just like Scott Frost came in and Shaquem Griffin all of a sudden
Perfect
was
example.
Was a all-world freaking linebacker when O'Leary would never even let him play except on special teams or whatever, So it's the same kind of thing with Gus coming in. Josh Heupel very easily could have missed somebody out there. Maybe he didn't like him. Maybe he was not great in school or something that gave him a bad taste in his mouth about a certain player. And so you didn't see that player or whatever, So Gus is coming in fresh, and that's the best thing for the players and the coach. Everybody's on, kind of the same playing field. Everybody has a chance that maybe didn't have a chance before for some reason. And I think it's awesome. That's the best part about a coaching change is that everybody gets a fresh freaking start. There's no preconceived notion about any player except maybe that, like Dylan Gabriel, because he'd seen him play, I'm sure, before, and, maybe a couple other guys. But everybody else really gets a fresh start. And it's awesome.
Well, one of the things he mentioned, too, which I was glad to hear because everybody was kind of, talking about this right when he got hired, was whether he was going to adjust. And one of the things that he said in his press conference was that he was going to, over the next couple weeks after spring, they were going to go back to the film room and start making adjustments on what plays they wanted to run based on what they saw in the spring film and what the strengths were after they made those evaluations. So what you'll see is them go through some basic core stuff now, different concepts, see what they like, what kind of strengths they have in these different players, and then adjust, which is also going to be a positive for us as well.
Absolutely. I mean, any good coach will adjust. I mean, especially after just the spring, excuse me. Anything else?
The next section that I had was just my question marks. So now we've kind of talked about what we've learned, but what are the question marks now that we're midway through the spring practice season?
I got a clip here, and this is what somebody asked Gus what he wants to see the rest of spring, so I think this is a great spot.
Fine-tune in the details. And, we talked about developing the foundation this spring because we didn't get a whole lot of chance to walk through. We didn't get a whole lot of chance to meet with our guys. We hit the ground running. So we were playing catch-up, and we're just trying to lay the foundation. And that way this summer, when they're working out on their own, they can actually improve, and they'll know exactly what's expected. So it's just more about the details. We're still not going to get real fancy the rest of spring. We're just going to try to get good. And I'll say this, we're trying to figure out what our strengths are, and we're going to build around our strengths. We're starting to understand that a little bit better. Obviously, we probably learned more today than we did any of the other practices overall, so that's good for us. We'll have a personnel meeting update, tomorrow, and that'll be good for us as coaches, and in the second half of spring, try to finish.
All right, there you go. You had talked a little bit about some of that stuff already, so that's good. Good to hear. I mean, obviously he knows what he's doing. He's done this before. This is not his first spring ball.
That was my biggest takeaway is everything that you've heard from feedback from the players and just what we've heard from him. He clearly has a grasp on what it takes to be a head coach and how to handle this situation, which is different than what we've had with Frost and with Heupel in the past.
Yeah, he's not trying to figure it out.
No, he's got it.
He's already figured it out.
Yep. All right. As to my open questions and maybe some of yours, Andrew, one of the things obviously is O-line and how quickly they're going to pick up on the new scheme. The good news is they've got the rest of spring to keep working on that and summer. So unlike last year, we didn't have any practice time for them to work out on their own. So that's good. We kind of understand who the ones are going to be on the linebacker squad, but I still don't know yet how Eric Gilliard's going to fit in there and who's going to step up in that depth rotation, right? Because we're going to need these guys, especially folks who can get into and cover the middle of the field. So
we've got
who's
some
that going to be?
freshmen as well.
Yeah, Quaden Mosier is, I think, who you're talking about. He was from Fayetteville, Arkansas, 6'2", 223, and he had some really, really solid speed when we were watching him and was a really, really hard hitter when we were watching his tape. Yeah, that's
the guy. I'm excited to see what he can do because the tape was unbelievable. Really fast, had a nose for the ball, so I think that he will turn out to be pretty dang good.
Yeah, that depth is going to be extremely important as we get into the season, and I'm excited about him as well.
I haven't really even looked at the roster that much. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know who we have, to be honest with you. It's like it's so early in the spring, and I got to look at stuff a lot more before I can really, talk well about this stuff. I just need to bury my nose in the roster, I guess, and just see who we've got at linebacker. I mean, I can pull it up here and see. Let's see who are our linebackers. Eric Gilliard, Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste, obviously Tatum Bethune, Kadeem Leonard, Quaid Mosier, Keenan Colpett, Cole Joyce, Zach Rodriguez, Andres Garcia, Phegley Joseph, and Derek Burns.
Phegley Joseph. That's a great name.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's what it is, Phegley Joseph. Fredley instead of Bradley.
Keenan Colpett was another big name that came out of that was a more recent. He was from the last recruiting class as well that we've heard a lot of good things about. There's a lot of depth, young guys that are there, but we just need. And this is why I said it was an open question. Is like who's going to take the football and run with it, right? Who's going to pick it up and really run with that depth position because they can get some rotation into that starting linebacker position.
Very young group.
Very young group.
I mean, most of these guys are freshmen and sophomores. Eric Gilliard is the one lone guy that is a junior. I mean, because of the COVID year, they're still listed on the roster, on the 2021 roster as the year before. He would be a senior. He's still listed as a junior. So it's, it's going to be weird. There's going to be this is one of the things that I think this is really going to mess college football up, is this extra COVID year that people are getting, because they're going to be all these fifth year and sixth year players that wouldn't have been before. It's just going to be weird. I think it's going to mess recruiting up for years. They may have to make some new rules or something of, I don't know.
At least 3. It'll at least, the way the cycles are going, it'll at least mess up 3, or you'll see a lot more transfers. But then again, it's like,
well, you're already going to see a lot more transfers. That's a given, and we've talked about that, and Gus Malzahn talked about that, how it's changed college football and recruiting because of the transfer portal. But, I mean, think about it. Everybody who was a freshman is still a freshman.
Yep.
Sophomores are still sophomores. Juniors are still juniors. Seniors, honestly, could have stayed and had another senior year. So their fifth year, or maybe even sixth year as a senior if they've already had 5. So it's going to make a bunch of Michael Klubialis that got that 6th year.
Or Brady White's from Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Dr. Brady White.
Exactly. I mean, it's going to be weird. So, yeah, there are no senior linebackers. Eric Gilliard is the lone junior. Literally everybody else is either redshirt freshmen or even redshirt freshmen or freshmen. So, and then some guys that have never seen the field for UCF, obviously the true freshmen, the real true freshmen. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of names, and I think that's one of my issues because I don't know a lot of these guys because they're
new.
They're brand new. We didn't see nearly the people that we saw in the past, I think, last year because of situations. So there's a lot of players on this roster that we've never even seen on the field before.
You know, and the same could be said for a lot of the different areas. The D-line group is going to be interesting because we've got our transfers coming in. And we still haven't figured out the defensive tackle situation. So, you know, we've got some new guys coming in there as well. We've got the transfers coming in, so that's going to be a shakeup. So it's going to take a little while to figure some of these spots out and who's going to be. And you heard
Dylan Gabriel is still a sophomore.
Yeah,
I mean, he's on here as a sophomore. I mean, we've got two sophomore quarterbacks. Quadri Jones is technically a redshirt sophomore, believe it or not. Should be a senior, I believe.
Yeah,
should be. But technically, he would be a redshirt junior this year, so whatever. Redshirt sophomore is what he's listed as. So he's
got 2 more years at least.
Yeah, so we have Dylan Gabriel that's a sophomore, Quadri Jones that's a redshirt sophomore, Parker Navarro freshman, Mikey Keene freshman, Gaston Moore freshman. Yeah, so that's it for the quarterbacks. Just unbelievable. I heard, I'm probably changing the subject completely because I changed it because I went to the roster. I heard the kickers did pretty well. One of the guys was really kicking them. I don't know who it was, but was hitting them from 50 plus, what I heard, especially during warm-ups. Well, was that Orbowski?
No, it wasn't. Obarski hasn't been playing because he's been injured.
Okay,
so
it was Riley Stevens. Then.
It was Riley Stevens.
A freshman, 6'2", 170 from Dr. Phillips.
We are, when we're going back to that earlier question about transfers, that did remind me of something. We were looking at some kicking transfers as well, some more juniors, etc. So I heard the same thing from distance. He was hitting some long balls. His consistency wasn't quite there yet, but again, that's a freshman. So Obarski, we'll see. We haven't seen what he's been able
honestly,
to do.
To me, he's been a disappointment. I was really high on him. I had him on here. One of the last guys that I was able to interview before they got to UCF. I was so excited about him because I had heard so much about him kicking like 70-yarders in practice and during camps and stuff like that. And then he comes in and kicks the ball, out of bounds on kickoffs like all the time.
Right.
A little bit better last year, I believe, but oh boy. Yeah. Kickers is such an important position. I know all they do is kick the ball.
They're not important until they screw up.
Exactly. Exactly. It's much more important than they get credit for.
Yep. Another open question is going to be Jake Heescock and how Hescock. I don't know why I said that. Hescock.
You make names up for all these people. You do. You
Collier.
Put weird accents.
It's the German coming out of me.
You need to study some French or something. Any of these guys that have Louisiana French last name or something,
Well, Jake Hescock is coming back from...
How did you mess that up?
I don't know. He's coming back from from COVID protocols next week, so that's good. He has not been playing with the team because he's been out on COVID protocols, but he will be back next week. So the tight ends, a lot of younger guys there.
What did you call him?
He's got.
Oh
my God! Your reptilian brain's coming out
awesome.
now. So Jake Hescock, sorry Jake, he's coming back. So it'll be interesting to see how he.
Somebody else's name you messed up earlier too, and I didn't say anything.
Well, it was Mosier, I think.
No, it was. Oh man, now I can't think of the guy. It was the defensive lineman that didn't play last year.
Kalia Davis?
It's Kalia.
Is it Kalia?
Yes.
Okay, I've heard it both ways.
It's Kalia.
All right. We clearly, UCF, if you're listening, send me a pronunciation guide because I'm screwing it all up.
I think it's on the website.
I looked. I didn't see it.
Obviously.
All right. So anyway, good news is that Jake Hescock will be back next week, so it'll be interesting to see how he does. Who's going to step up for the wide receivers? We haven't yet had anybody consistently step up. Remember, Titus from Hawaii is coming in. He'll be here in the summer as well. That's that 4-star wide receiver we have coming in. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
All right, let's go through the wide receivers here.
Okay.
Jalen Robinson, Kadeen Robinson. I guess he would be a JUCO guy.
Correct.
Brandon Johnson, Ryan O'Keefe, Gerard Baker, Amari Johnson. My roster just refreshed. The website, it's just bad. Justin Menard, Cade Sams, Dante Marks. Obviously, we know who he is, and I think he'll step up.
He was running with the 2s during spring practice.
Okay, interesting. And Darius Melton and Stephen Martin and Jalen Griffin. Jalen Griffin. I've heard good things about him.
Yep.
I think he's a JUCO transfer as well. And then Kavan Ahmad would be rounding that out. And there is a pronunciation guide on here, by the way. It's the little ear that tells you. Let's see I don't know if they'll play if I play them. They won't off this computer, but we'll go through that later. Maybe we need to spend some time with this.
Oh, God. You need help with the roster. I need help with the pronunciation.
There you go.
All right. That was
What other position groups would you like to review?
That was all I had for open question marks. I mean,
how about tight ends? We have 1 million of them, including Jake Hescock.
You almost went there. But yeah, tight end, a lot of young guys there as well. Gabe Davis's brother should be back in the mix now as well.
I've heard he is having some issues, and he's not quite there yet. He's not happy about not being there yet with his knee. He had a knee reconstruction done last year, and his mom, I'm friends with her on Facebook, and she posted, "Keep him in your prayers. He's not quite where he wants to be, and he's getting frustrated." So hopefully he will get his, use back of that knee a little bit better.
That's tough because he played really well when he was in high school.
Yeah. Well, we just haven't seen him yet.
Yep.
So, so we have Max Hollier, Nathan Burboom, Alec Hollier, 2 Holliers, the tight ends. They're from both their brothers, I guess. Trinity Prep, Winter Park. Garrett French, Zach Marsh-Wojan, Jordan Davis, Charlie Browder, Jake Hescock, Tony Forrest Jr., and that is the tight ends. Lots of them. Big guys, most of them. This one guy, there's 2 guys that are Charlie Browder, freshman as well. He is a big dude, 6'7", 235. And so Hescock is 6'7" as well, but 252.
Heard, and Browder was running with the 1s. So he's actually one of the names from the tight end group that has kind of separated himself early on in spring practice as well. So expecting a lot out of him. Nathan Borboom was another one that we had our eyes on when we were recruiting him. He had some really, really good tape as well, but Browder seems to be separating himself a little bit.
Well, we had a great recruiter for tight ends there on that staff for a year, so these are mostly his guys. So, there's all kinds of stories about him, by the way, but anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting guy, I guess, and like to talk behind people's backs from what I hear.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. Look that up if you don't know what we're talking about. He supposedly had some things to say about Mackenzie Milton to recruits that wasn't good. So, not good. I'm glad that he is... it seems like you kind of learn the stories of the last coaching staff after they leave, and we're hearing not so good things. And a lot of people thought, and there were people in my ear telling me, there's a lot of bad juju going on. There's a lot of bad juju. And I really try not to believe that kind of stuff because I want it to, not that I'm naive at all, but I like to imagine that everything is perfect behind those doors of the locker room or the coach's office. I like to think that these people aren't, the money chasers, the better job chasers, just what college football actually is. You know those memes where it says, "This is what I do. This is what my mom thinks I do." Have you seen those? There's a college football thing that I have in my head that is like one of those memes, and it's usually the opposite of what I think people are like.
Yeah.
Because you heard me on here many times defending Josh Heupel.
Yep.
Because I met him and he was really, really nice to me and I liked him. But everything that I'm hearing was what the people were saying that I refused to believe. That he was kind of a jerk and the players did not like him. And then you have an assistant coach that's talking bad about a current
Allegedly.
player. Well, it's multiple sources.
I know.
Including players' parents, former player parents, multiple ones. Like not just one family, but multiple families. Just there was some bad stuff going on there, and it's disheartening. And hopefully, I think Gus Malzahn is a different breed than those guys. He came up through college football in a different time, I believe. He's an old school coach. He's an older coach. He's been around, not a new head coach, which we've had these couple ones, and I just
and he was a high
hope,
school coach. That's the other thing too.
I think that's a huge deal. And he's said all along how he likes to hire high school coaches because they're teachers. So I hope that changes the way things are. Because if you can't trust your coach, you can't trust anybody. You've got to be able to trust your coach, especially to not talk shit behind your back.
Well,
Excuse me for the French. It's not really French, but whatever.
You've been a player.
Yeah.
You've been in a D1 college program.
Well, and I didn't like my coach per se, but I trusted him. Mm-hmm. I trusted that he wasn't talking behind my back. I mean, I knew that. Maybe to the other coaches or whatever, but he wouldn't throw me under the bus. He would defend me in anything that I needed him to. I was having problems with a class. He defended me. He talked to whoever he needed to be talked to help me out to get out of that class and get into another one. That's the kind of guy that you want as your head coach. I don't know how I got on this tangent, but whatever. Anyway, I just hope that the culture is different at UCF than it has been the last 4 years.
I think that's palpable, and I think it's pretty transparent for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, and you look...
the players loved Scott Frost and, all that stuff, but he was the snake. He was like that. Not with the players, I don't think. Josh Heupel, I think, was like that with the players. Like, didn't like certain players, and he took it out on them. It's been told. So I think that is inexperience, like we were saying, and like I said, hopefully that stuff's done. I would think it is. I don't know how we got on that, but whatever. It is what it is.
Well, we got through it, so there we go. All right. Next on our list, we did have a little bit of recruiting news while we were on a 1 week hiatus. We had a commitment from a quarterback, 2022 commitment, Thomas Castellanos.
He the 2023 commit?
No, I think he's 2022.
Okay.
Thomas Castellanos from Ware County, Georgia, 3-star dual threat quarterback. He's 5'11", 190 pounds. He's currently a junior. Or as a junior, he had a 10-2 record, 2,881 yards and 21 TDs, and ran for 939 yards and an additional 24 TDs. His offers included FSU, Georgia Tech, Kansas, and going back through his tape, he was very highly sought after, and going back through his tape, he reminds me a whole heck of a lot in the way that he plays like KZ.
This is the thing. Oh, man. I feel another tangent coming on here.
Uh-oh.
I want us to quit,
Comparing him to
comparing
KZ?
everybody to KZ. I cannot wait till we can not do that anymore. I understand that KZ was KZ, and everybody loves KZ, and I love KZ more than anybody. But I want to, like, I don't know, just comparing guys to everybody. We're going to compare everybody. Like we compared people to Blake Bortles after he was gone, I guess. I can't wait till because we're not ever going to have another quarterback like KZ.
No, I think
we're never going to. There isn't any.
I agree with you. I think it's more style of play. I remember, and I'm going to go back into the Wayback Machine now. I remember listening to the show when you guys were talking about, and you were so excited about watching his tape, right? And I remember you were like, he's just different. Like the way that he plays, the style that he plays, his ability to get out of the pocket, make things happen. I think at the time Johnny Manziel was around, and there was some conversation on comparing his.
I was comparing him to him because I'd never seen anybody else that did anything like that.
Exactly. And so when I was watching his tape, that's what I was watching because he was getting out of situations on his own. He'd take off and run, and all of a sudden he was gone. His
I can understand that. It's just the thing that, like, it's just the thing. I thought that because I thought I saw that written in our notes or something, and I was just, I don't know, but it grates at my freaking nerves.
See, and for me, it's like, all right, if I'm watching Dylan Gabriel's good in his own right? He can drop dimes. I've never seen touch on a ball like that.
He has a way better arm than McKenzie did.
Yeah, he does. Way better.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't. He doesn't have, or he hasn't displayed. Not that he doesn't.
The thing that McKenzie had or has, I cannot wait to see if he still has it. This is the thing. I was talking to my friend last night, watching the UFC fights. My friend comes over, same guy all the time, and watches fights with me. And he's a Florida State fan. So he's like, we were talking. I'm like, man, I can't wait to see what KZ does. And I was saying that he's got a great arm. Our quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, has a better arm than KZ does, but KZ still has a great arm, just not as good as Dylan's. But the thing I was telling him, the thing that KZ did or does was make things happen in the pocket, outside of the pocket. Yes. And that was extremely special. I've never seen somebody else do that. Maybe Johnny Manziel did I almost said it.
Manziel is fine.
I know. I almost put a weird...
Manziel!
Oh, boy. Oh, it's coming unraveled.
A lot of laughing.
It's coming unraveled from the seams tonight. But yes, so that was the thing with KZ. It just made things happen. I can remember, even in the Peach Bowl, the one that he kind of dove into the end zone with.
Yeah.
That is one of the ones that sticks into my head. And then there's a bunch of other ones. It all kind of runs together, though, football seasons for me. There was a couple in the bounce house that, and when he would flip the ball to, like,
on an option
Adrian
play.
Killens or whatever. There's one that really sticks out, and I can't remember what game it was. It was in the end zone right in front of me, though. And I just remember seeing that. I can close my eyes and see that play. So if there's a guy, I guess, that does things like that, I can understand.
Yeah, and he looked like it. Yeah, I mean, really, honestly.
I pulled up his tape, and I am watching it. He definitely makes things happen in the pocket. This play that I'm watching right now, he should have been tackled 4 times.
Yeah.
In the pocket.
Yep.
And ran through there somehow. Yep. So the feet on this guy, and heck of an arm, too.
Well, you saw the TD ratio, right? You had 21 TDs through the air and 24 TDs on the ground.
Yeah. So that's great. I hope that, I hope he's on the move up as far as rating goes. So let's hope that he's still a 3-star and he sticks, because it's pretty early for him to commit. So
all right.
He is a 2022. There are 2 2022 commits, by the way.
The other one was the offensive lineman that we had already talked about.
Miguel Maldonado. I can't ever say that last name. So 6'6", 320, that guy. Big guy. They're both rated 5.7 on Rivals, 3 stars. and that's a pretty good 3-star. I think
5.8 is the 4.
I think that's what I was going at. So, and they both committed this month, so a little ways away. I guess these guys would be committing in December, so it's not that far away. 2022 just
it sounds like it, yeah.
Feels like it's a long time away. And then he offered a 2023 quarterback as well, I believe. That was the one that we were kind of like, whoa, what? He's offering 2023 people already? But he was a quarterback as well. A smaller quarterback, I believe, than this guy. This guy's 5'11", 190, though, this Thomas Castanellis guy. So not what I expected Gus Malzahn to be offering quarterbacks, a small quarterback like that. But maybe he has changed his mind a little bit when he's seen what Dylan Gabriel can do.
Absolutely.
So,
one final note about recruiting for me. I did get to see one of these infamous billboards while I was passing through Tallahassee on the way to Orlando this weekend. Remember, folks, I live in the Panhandle, so I drive I-10 straight through downtown Tallahassee, and I did see one of the billboards that said 274 miles till
now, was it a digital billboard or was it a?
This one was not.
It was a real one.
It was a real one.
Wow.
So they're paying some money to keep it up there.
Some money, yeah.
But I did see it, and it just kind of I kind of fist pumped while I was driving through. So I was like, yes, So
you honked your horn and it said "Charge on."
Well, charge on, yeah. Started playing Zombie Nation, yeah, absolutely. But no, it was.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah,
to have a horn that played Zombie Nation.
Yes.
Yeah, they'd probably sue you if you did it though.
100% they would.
Because remember, I used that song at the beginning of our show when I first started Knightline, and they were up my butt for doing that. And little me.
And they found you.
Yeah. YouTube, thank you. Appreciate it. Anyway. Okay. What else is going on? There's all kind. Let's do a commercial, because it's been a while. We're into hour number 2 here. All right, let's do a commercial. We'll be right back on Knightline. I almost said Knightline at night.
I knew it. I saw it on your face.
I'm getting so used to doing that. All right, here's a commercial. We'll be right back. If you haven't figured it out yet, I love Tijuana Flats. I would love them even if they weren't a partner with us on the Knightline Sports Network. They have all kinds of great Tex-Mex food, and it's fresh, by the way. Made to order burritos, tacos, enchiladas, chimichangas, quesadillas, bowls, nachos, and taco salads. And if you haven't tried the queso, you are completely missing out. It is the best queso that I've ever had in my life. Absolutely hands down. And the sauce bar that they have, everything from wild to mild in there. Absolutely awesome, awesome stuff. Not only do I love the food at Tijuana Flats, but I love the company, a UCF-born company, and they give back to the community with the Justin Queso Foundation. So head to your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each and every week on the Knightline Sports Network for the AAC Report. We bring you in-depth coverage of each school in football, basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, golf, tennis, and more, as well as bring you insider interviews and focus in on the biggest games and news of the week. That's all right here each week on the AAC Report, only on the Knightline Sports Network.
All right, Roger, you have that you want to talk about volleyball, softball, and women's hoops. So you go ahead and do that, and I will be patiently waiting. No, I'm sure I'll have something to say. Sure, I'll find something to rant about.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that because these teams are doing really, really well. Number 8, UCF volleyball swept the Cows over the weekend to finish undefeated in conference play. That's the second year running, by the way.
And they won the conference, the East Division Championship this weekend, right?
Correct, and they're gearing up for tournament play. So.
See, I knew that.
Well, they're doing a really great job again. Todd Dagenet's been on his run. This was actually his 200.
Did you ever hear I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
Did you ever hear the first time I tried to say his name?
No.
Yeah, it was bad. It was because it doesn't sound anything like how it's written.
No, not at all.
I messed that up really bad. You'd have to go way back in the Wayback Machine to find that, but.
Well, I'd talked to him a few times way back when, and that's why I knew how to say it. But it was, I wanted to celebrate this. This was his 250th win.
What a great coach to have at UCF, by the way. He's the nicest guy. Follows us, follows me personally on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff, and he's a good guy.
And he's very involved in the other sports.
Yeah, and he's always posting stuff on those platforms about, just coaching and just, he's a good guy.
And so we wanted to highlight that and congratulate him on that milestone. One of the things I will say is, if you get a chance to watch the team, please do so. Their front line's really, really good. Narissa Morovich is doing really well. And it was entertaining this last week. I watched the game, and the entire game, the announcers sounded like they were Alvin and the Chipmunks. So it was
what's
pretty
that
hilarious.
All about? That was sped up or something?
Yeah, really, really high pitch. It literally sounded like Alvin and the Chipmunks. So it
was like sped up? Is that what you're saying?
It was sped up and super high pitch.
Weird.
Yeah, whoever was producing
time
that.
Condensed the game is what they did to fit time.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know, but it sounded crazy.
That's crazy.
Number 22 softball took down the number 5 Gators on a walk-off win and followed that up with a sweep of Houston to open up conference play. So they'll be playing the return game for the Gators. I think it's next weekend. They are 24-6 and will play at Tulsa. It's always a tough series with Tulsa, but they're 8-7 this year, so I expect us to win. Gianna Mancha and Aaliyah White continue to kill it this season. As for women's hoops, wow, I'm off. Women's hoops, unfortunately, not as much success. They did go out on the first game versus Northwestern. The first half was really...
If anybody was still listening, they're not listening anymore. After we're laughing and I've cussed in this show, this is like, it's just not normal. I've admitted to not knowing what I'm talking about. It's horrible. This is horrible.
That being said, unfortunately, Diamond Battles, wow.
Diamond Battle A?
Battle A. Diamond Battles went out with a knee injury just before the half. We really missed her defense.
Battles?
Oh, wow. We missed her defense and spirit. Cortasia Saunders, and I did say that right, played well. However, she did not play as well as she had earlier in the season. Her Diamond and Alicia Lewis had really, really been jiving together.
Alicia Lewis is my favorite player, by the way.
I know.
She's my favorite player on this team. Diamond Battles is awesome, but Alicia Lewis has something the rest of them don't, I think.
Well, unfortunately, the arc was closed for the entire team, including Alicia Lewis. They only shot 23%, which really, really hurt us. And however, on a bright note, Masani Kaba led scoring, and again, we out-rebounded Northwestern 39-24, which says a lot. We've been living and dying this season by the offensive rebounds and second chance points, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, we went away from that earlier in the second half. Now, towards the end, we started getting back on track and getting it down low, and we got it close. We were within 5 with a couple minutes to play, but then just Northwestern's defense just clamped down. And unfortunately, we did leave the tournament early, but it was the second straight time in the tournament for us this year. So we're on a upward trajectory. We're looking forward to next year. The big thing that'll be interesting is to see who comes back, because again, just like we were talking about football, they have that extra coronavirus year. So normally Masami Kaba would not be able to play this upcoming season, but she could come back, and if she does,
Alicia Lewis too, I believe, right?
No. She was a transfer from Syracuse.
I thought she was like a grad transfer or something.
Nope.
Okay, good.
Yep. So she'll definitely be back, but it'd be great to have Masani's presence down low, because she played extremely well.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think it's time for the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. Welcome to the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. Visit TijuanaFlats.com for takeout or delivery, or visit your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. All right, I had some Tijuana Flats the other night, by the way. I just went simple and had some tacos, but they were absolutely awesome. So
saw some pictures.
Yeah, and I didn't do the hot sauce that night, which is very rare for me, but they did not have, the one that I was at did not have any of the really strong hot sauces. They had all like weak ones. They had all like sissy ones, which was a bummer.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they got away with that, because that's not the Tijuana Flats way. But anyway, so yeah, tacos, they were beautiful. They were awesome. Great tacos there. Go ahead with yours, and I'm going to do one too.
Okay, so for this week's Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week for me, I'm going to stay with the women's basketball theme, and I'm going to say that Diamond Battles will be the American Player of the Year next year. She's phenomenal. She's obviously well respected, as evidenced by the outpouring of support that she receives, so she's respected amongst the league. She really is
and even outside of the league.
Yeah.
She had from all kinds of different teams and all across the country was getting, well wishes after the injury.
She just plays so hard. I mean, she really, really does.
And that game, if you watch women's basketball, even if you don't, and just happened upon that game was on a lot of TVs. Probably the biggest exposure that UCF got all year as far as basketball. So you can see why that, the outpouring of support would come nationwide.
Yeah, and the thing for her, too, she's been able to up her game as far as scoring off the dribble. She hadn't been as good at that before, and this season she's really coming to her own. So between her and Lish Lewis, with Lish shooting, she's actually doing better with the dribble as well. But she's just, Diamond Battles is just phenomenal off the dribble. She's one of those, sometimes in some games this year, she reminded me a lot of BJ Taylor when he would take over the games at the end of the game, in that one person who would just will them to win. So her defense is tenacious, and her offensive game's only going to get better.
Okay. Well, I'm going to stick with women's basketball as well, just because that's the topic, and it's easy to think about. This was my hot take of the week as well for the radio show, Knightline at Night, on WDBO, 9 p.m. Tuesdays, 580 a.m. as well.
Shameless plug.
This was my hot take on that show as well, since we didn't do a Knightline show last week. That women's basketball, UCF women's basketball, will not only make the tournament next year, I think they're going to go deep into the tournament. They haven't won a game in the tournament yet. They were, that's coming, but I think they're going to win more than one game next year. That is my hot take. I feel like this team almost had it this year. I think they're going to have it next year. And I feel like, especially now with Connecticut being out of our, conference and everything else, they have much better chance to do things. And I just feel like they're a really good team. And I think it's all going to come together with Coach Abe at the helm. She does a great job. Yeah.
And unfortunately for us, I mean, in a good way and a bad way, it was good that UConn left. Good in the sense that it's really a two-team league. It's us and the Cows for now. Houston sprinkled in and Cincinnati sprinkled in there every once in a while. But it was bad in the sense that it was an RPI loss because UConn, unfortunately, was a RPI booster. So you had the opportunity to get 3 teams in. Now we have the opportunity to get 2, one as a conference champion and one as an at-large, and I think UCF's well-positioned with Coach Abe to be that team going forward.
All righty. Well, that's the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. All right, one more commercial, and we'll be right back to do news and notes. Hey, Jeep Wrangler owners, have you ever sat in your office at work and watched the rain just pour into your Jeep because the weatherman said that there was a 0 chance of rain? Or you put your doors back on because there was a 100% chance and then not a drop of rain fell? Well, there's a company out there that can help take the worry away and give you the peace of mind to be without your doors. The company's called Life Without Doors. They make waterproof rain curtains and dash covers for Wranglers. Life Without Doors is there to help make the decision to leave the doors at home an easy one. Find out more at lifewithoutdoors.com.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley reminding you to tune in every Tuesday night, 9 to 10 p.m. on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, plus the WDBO app for Knightline at Night. Brought to you by Chad Bar Law. We'll be taking your calls and your texts reacting to the previous week's UCF sports action, and you never know who will show up. Once again, that's Knightline at Night, every Tuesday, 9 to 10 p.m. on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, plus the WDBO app. Go Knights and charge on.
Welcome. This is a promo for the Take a Left at Albuquerque podcast, new to the Knightline Sports Network. You should listen to it. I say things like this. We need to stop blaming Jerry because we would do the exact same thing if we owned the Dallas freaking Cowboys. Do you know how much fun it is to own the Dallas Cowboys? My guests will say things sometimes like this.
It's the Lord of the Flies thing that happens when they don't understand that things are wrong, spoiler alert, until Piggy dies.
Lord of the Flies has been out for like 100 years. I don't even know.
Sorry to everyone at home who I spoiled the book for. A book's been out for like 90 years or something.
And sometimes, rarely though, I'll say really stupid things like this. If they don't make it out of the West and the Raptors get to the finals, I will go on either this show or whoever's show and say that Kawhi Leonard is overrated because I have too much evidence of it. New episodes drop every Friday with me and some of my good friends right here on the Knightline Sports Network.
And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports. All right, men's soccer put the Cows out to the pasture with a 1-0 double overtime golden goal win.
Boo. The name and likeness rules are going to be coming into the spotlight as the case will be taken up by the Supreme Court this week. The NFL and others have filed briefs on behalf of the players.
Gianna Mancho was named the AAC Player of the Week as she continues her spectacular year inside the circle.
One take, Andrew. All right, number 28.
Yeah, right. if they only knew.
Number 26, UCF men's tennis swept the number 24 Oklahoma Sooners 4-0. Remember that we stole John Roddick, our current coach, from Oklahoma.
Yeah. And number 18, UCF women's tennis shut the door on SMU Ponies 4-1 in conference play.
Richie Grant, Aaron Robinson, Greg McCrae, Trey Nixon, and Jacob Harris were on campus leading up to their pro day. Gabe Davis and Latavius Murray were also on campus over the last couple weeks. It's great to see so many UCF greats supporting the program.
You almost put an extra vowel in there.
I did.
Harris. Jacob Harris. All right.
It's the French Jacob Harris.
Now, you wrote this, and I agree but disagree in a way. Because I'm not a nerd. So you wrote, since we're both space nerds, good luck to NASA as they attempt to fly the first helicopter on another planet April 8th. The Ingenuity helicopter will be carrying a piece of the Wright brothers' original airplane. which is cool and all, but I'm not a nerd.
Well,
I do like space, but I'm not a nerd.
All right, I'm a space nerd. Andrew's not. Let's get that out there.
It's all good. Well, I mean, you can be a fan of space. You're a nerd.
I'm
sure.
totally a nerd.
No question about that. But anyway, we've had fun tonight. I had a blast. This was one of the more memorable Knightlines. It has been Knightline 253. I'm Andrew Phegley.
And I'm Roger Phipps. Go Knights!
Charge on.
Charge on to the field. With our spirits we'll never yield. Black and gold charge right through the line. Victory is our cry. B-S-E-T-O-R-Y. Tonight our knights will shine.